What's going on, guys? Joey Franzo with Flex Training Systems here, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about sodium and how manipulating sodium can make a big difference, not only in your training sessions, but especially meet day, and even more so if you are cutting weight. So why sodium? What does sodium have to do with anything? Well, sodium is necessary for muscle contractions. Essentially, you need sodium in order to for your muscles to work properly. It's why if you look at a Gatorade, there's going to be a good amount of sodium and potassium in there, to electrolytes to help you perform, to help you do what you need to do in training and on the platform. If you go too high with, or essentially if there's any kind of imbalance with that, too far one way, then you're going to start getting cramps, and then you won't be able to do anything. But what I like to do before training especially is, so for example, right now I am not prepping for a competition. I'm actually in a small deficit. I'm down a couple pounds. So coming into a training session, because I'm not eating out as much, I'm eating everything at home, and a lot of the foods that I'm eating just have lower sodium content. I need to get my sodium up to create that artificial leverage. Sodium is going to help me bloat, and the more water I'm holding in the muscle and just in my body in general, I'm going to create kind of like, think of it like fake fat. It's like fake leverage that's not necessarily going to be there all the time, but for this particular session, I need it. I want it to help me train. So what I'll do is, especially if I'm dieting, I'll drink like a sugar-free Powerade or low-carb Powerade or Gatorade. That way I'm still getting the sodium and potassium without the carbs. It also helps me kind of block my hunger because I'm not eating as much, and I can still kind of get the benefits. It's not nearly as much as like if I were to eat Chipotle, take a nap, and then go train. I've actually had nosebleeds after doing that, just because you're just like, your blood pressure is just so damn high. But definitely just being mindful to salt my food, especially before my training sessions. And even after, the more sodium that you have in your system, you're just going to fill your muscles with water, fill your body with water to give your muscles a better environment to grow. That's kind of like how, I'm not too sure on this, but I was told many years ago that creatine, the blood that we get from creatine, can do something similar. I'm not necessarily sure if that's 100% accurate. I would have to double check. But that's a whole nother video. So if I'm, prepping for a meet and I'm in a surplus or eating a little bit more, then, I really enjoy just like soy sauce I eat a lot of like rice with soy sauce, salt on my eggs. I don't need to go with the sugar-free Gatorade. I just go with the regular Gatorade. If you have long training sessions with multiple lifts in them, so if you're squat, bench, deadlift, or you're doing all three, Gatorade's gonna just help kind of facilitate that weight session, just help you get through that whole training session with no real issues. It can also help with like injury prevention. If you're dehydrated, things kind of get stuck together, things don't really work right. And it's just like, for the amount that just a simple Gatorade, Powerade, a sports drink, just making sure that you've eaten something before your training session. The amount of difference that it makes, it's just like too important not to pay attention to. Even if you're just having a banana before you train and putting salt on your eggs, or if you're eating a sandwich that has sandwich meat that has a shit ton of sodium in it. Some people put mustard on things, but honestly, if you look at the amount of sodium in a tablespoon of mustard versus like soy sauce, mustard is vastly inferior. It just like makes me laugh when I'm at meets and I see guys like taking mustard and putting it in a little cup and eating it with a spoon. It's like, dude, just like take the soy sauce packet, just fucking eat it. I was doing that at the Arnold. My last 2 meets, I did not cut weight, and I have found that it's almost like when I do cut weight, your body's like extra, like you're super depleted, so you really like can pull in a shit ton of sodium. Actually, one of my best meets, I made a mistake and I pulled out. It was a bench press only meet. It was bench press nationals. Fun fact, I tied with the other 2 guys. If you guys have been listening to me, you guys have heard this before. It was my best bench press. Wilkes had actually qualified me for the bench only meet at the Arnold, but I made a mistake. I thought I was weighing in later in the day, but I was actually weighing in at 8 in the morning. Like, at what meet does a 105 weigh in at 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning? So my sodium was off, and I was visiting my friends in Colorado, so I just like gave no fucks. And I was eating just very, very high sodium foods, very close to the competition. So I ended up having to do a lot of sauna. But because that sodium was there, I had a great meet. I benched 463 and I weighed in right at on the money, 231. So I was actually a double body weight bench in a fat boy weight class, which I'm proud of. And I have this hunch that if I would have pulled my sodium like I normally do, it could have been different. I'm not sure. I have to experiment with that down the road. But when I cut for Raw Nationals, there are a lot of different factors to helping me deplete for that meet. I was running around all day handling people and just being on my feet. So I feel like I was in a deficit slightly. I was also moving more, so my water intake, even though I was drinking a lot of water, 2 gallons being very active and 2 gallons sitting around is very different, and normally I'm very sedentary. So I just felt like after I made weight, I blew back up to like 250, almost 250, and it was just like I could handle so much sodium. It was like the body needed it. And I felt fine. Like you wouldn't even have known that I cut weight based on what I hit. But sodium is just so important. Like, I cannot stress to you how important sodium is, having enough sodium to perform. If you're a girl and you're listening to this, which is like not even 10% of you guys, you might not like lifting bloated, but if you normally don't lift bloated and you do one time, I'm telling you, it's going to make a big difference. It just helps keep things consistent. A lot of times, a lot of my guys will, I feel like some people that just don't pay attention to those little things, those really small, they may seem like insignificant things. It's like, okay, eat, sleep, water, and then train, right? Well, if you go a little bit more refined than that and start looking at like macronutrients, timing, like the timings between your lifts. Let me just give you a scenario. So if you train at like 12 p.m. on a Monday, and you had a Gatorade before your session, you had a good dinner the night before, you had a good breakfast, you got a full night's rest, and then you train the next day at 7 a.m. and you have shit sleep, you don't eat before you train, you're gonna, and you're like, oh man, like, I don't understand, like, why am I so weak right now, like, why does this feel so different? Well, there's all those little things add up. Like I always say, if you can maximize 1% here, 1% there, 0.5% here, it's all going to add up, and you're going to end up powerlifting is like a game of tiny numbers. Like 5% on your total, out of a 1,500 pound total is a lot. It's very significant, and that can be the difference between getting first place, getting last place, in a close matchup at a meet like the Arnold, for example. So, to wrap it up, just try, if you're something to try before your training sessions, try adding a little bit more salt to your food, or really simple, go spend $1, go buy a Gatorade, like a 12-ounce Gatorade, and just drink that, like half of it 30 minutes before you train, or 25 minutes before you train, and then sip the rest of it, like fill up the other half with water and sip that, or do it with the regular Gatorade if you want to get a little bit more of a boost, because it's got good carbs in there, and start doing that before your training sessions, and like especially during your longer sessions. Man, it makes such a big difference. Also, if you drink BCAAs, and they have electrolytes in them, you can do that too. I don't necessarily know that the BCAAs do anything, but the electrolytes in them, so the high sodium, high potassium, that's what's going to keep you going, and it makes a huge difference. So definitely want to get that bloat going and create that artificial leverage, which is going to make a difference in your numbers. Can be the difference between a 5, 10, 15 pound PR. So alrighty guys, thank you guys so much for listening. My time is becoming more and more limited, so I'm doing a little bit more of these videos audio only in the car. If you enjoy them, go ahead and drop a like, let me know down below. I just need to maximize my time as best I can, and try to get out all the all the little keys that I would like to get out when I can do them. So, all right, enough of the rant. Talk to you guys in the next one.